Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi ishrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma rabbi zidni ilma warzuqni fahma. Alright, so today we'll continue this topic, capital structure. We already started last time, and just to recall back what you have learned in this topic. So in this capital structure, we are computing the value of firm and the cost of equity to know the relationship between the leverage, the debt, and the return for the equity holders, okay, and the financial risk. Okay, there are two uh, which is in the world without tax and world with taxes, to compute the value of firm and the cost of equity. In the world without tax, there are another two propositions, which is proposition 1. Proposition 1 is basically to calculate the value of firm, which is if there is no taxes, so the value of unlevered is equals to the value of levered firm. And if there is a taxes, the value of levered firm will be greater, VL is greater than BU because of the tax shield, TCB. Okay, then for the KEU, KEU is the cost of equity or cost of capital for all equity firm. So KEU, this is for all equity firm. So when the company has debt, does not affect the KEU. So usually when there is no debt, KEU is equals to KEG. Okay, KEG, if the company has no debt, so usually it does not affect the KEG. So no debt, no tax, KEU is equals to KEG and equals to the WACC, weighted average cost of capital. However, if the company has debt, has leverage, so this debt to equity ratio or the debt will influence the KEG, where if the debt exists and there is no tax, KEG usually will more than KEU, where the KEU will equals to the WACC. Yeah. Okay, when there is a taxes, so all the values will change, where the KEG will not equals to the KEU will not equals to the WACC. So KEG, KEU, and WACC has a different percentage. Yeah? So for the value of firm, the value of leverage BL will be greater than BU because of the tax shield. So the tax shield is the tax benefit, the tax advantage, because the Modigliani and Miller theory says that when company has debt, when company has tax, so tax can reduce the debt. The interest is a interest tax deductible. The interest is a tax deductible where it can reduce the profit and later lower the tax payment, lower the cash flow for tax purposes. So the lower in paying tax, that is the tax benefit or the tax shield or the tax advantage that will increase the value of firm, that makes the value of company that has debt or VL is greater than VU. So to calculate the VU, so there is a EBIT multiplied by after tax 1 minus TC and divided by KEU. Whereas when there's no taxes, no tax, no 1 minus TC. Okay, now let us apply this. Okay, before we apply this into questions, another part which is important is the KEG. Yeah? So KEG is the cost of equity or return of equity, whether the firm has debt or no debt. If no debt, that means KEU is equivalent to KEG. But if there is a debt, KEU and KEG will have a different percentage, and usually KEG will more than KEU. So to calculate the KEG, we have the KEU plus VD over VE multiplied by KEU minus KD. And if there is tax, we just add with the 1 minus a bracket of 1 minus TC, which is the net after tax, 1 minus TC. So here you can see that this part, VD, VE, and KU, KED, so this is the determinants for the KEG, where if the debt is higher, that means KEG also higher. So that reflect by the financial risk. When the company increase debt, that will increase risk to the equity holder, and the equity holder will demand for the higher return. That reflect by the higher KEG. So this portion of the formula VD multiplied by KEU minus KD multiplied by 1 minus TC is the determinant factors for the increase or decrease in the KEG. Okay, so now we want to apply into questions. So we will use questions July 2022. So Blue Ivy Berhad is a manufacturing company that produce solar energy on small scale productions. On average, the company has annual earnings before interest and tax, EBIT of 3 million in perpetuity. At present, the optimal debt to equity ratio of Blue Ivy has remained at 0.25. The cost of issuing debt is 6%. So this is KD, okay, per year with the interest cost paid 240,000. So this is the interest, 240,000. Unlevered cost of capital, unlevered. So this is the KEU, okay, unlevered cost for the unlevered or unleveraged firm that has 100% equity. All right, so bear in mind that KED must always be low, below the KEU, because KED always is a cheaper cost of financing. So KD must be below KEU and below the KEG. And this one, if we look at the graph, so it is proven by the graph. So you can see here, KD is always below KEU. So this is a point of KD, this is a point of KEU, and this is a point of KEG. So KEG, KEU must be higher than KD. All right, so next, so this one, to calculate the V, still remember we have 4 types of formula to calculate V, which is one is the VL, VU plus TCB. Second is the EBIT 1 minus TC divided by RWACC plus TCB. The third one is the debt plus equity value. And the fourth one is the debt to equity ratio. So this question is applying to debt to equity ratio. Okay, so how to apply to find the value of firm when we have the debt to equity ratio? So it is easy. So debt to equity ratio is given to you at 0.25. So if it is the base here is debt to equity, means debt is 0.25. So equity is the base. So that means equity is 100 or 100 or 1. So value. So remember that value. Okay. So D is 25. Okay. So D is 25. That means E is the base. So E will be 1 or 100. And V is 1.25. Okay. Why E is 100? Because when we say debt to equity 0.25, debt to equity 0.25, that means it is 25 over 100. So 25 over 100, that means 25 for debt, 100 for equity, because it's a debt to equity ratio. Debt to equity ratio. Okay. So debt to equity ratio 0.25, that is 25 over 100. So D is 25 and 100 is equity. So value of firm is 1.25. 1.25. So what we want to find out here is the value of firm, means we want to find out V. We want to find out V. So for this one, okay, so we are doing for number 1 first. So we want to find out V. So that means V is our target because we want to find V. Okay, before you find V, we need to have amount for any of this, debt or equity or value, right? So for number 1, okay, for number 1, sorry, so this one, so you want to find the value of firm. So here is no tax. Remember, if no tax, VL equivalents to VU. no tax VL equivalents to VU. So now we need to solve the amount of debt. To get the value of firm, we need to have either one, debt or equity. All right, so based on the informations, we have the KD 6% and we have the interest cost paid 240,000. So that means we can find out first the value of debt. Okay, the value of debt. So the value of debt is how much is the interest? The interest 6%. So before we calculate, so VL is equivalent to VU. So we want to calculate the debt. The debt value is start from the interest. So the interest is the percentage KD multiplied by debt. So here is KD is 6%, 0.6% highly debt, and you are given the okay, so here you are given the interest as 240,000. Interest as 240,000. So 240,000 interest. So from here you can find D by dividing 240,000 interest with the debts which is 240,000 interest with a debt of 0.06, 0.06. So 0.06. So that means you can find out debt here is 240,000. So it's about 4 million. 4 million. 4 million. 4 million. So if you're confused, you can put the 4 million or 4M. Okay, 240,000 divided by 0.06. So that is a 4 million. So debt is 4 million. Or else you can find using this, or else you can this one is debt. So when we got debt, that means we need to solve another. So here debt is represented by 4 million. Okay, 4 million. Okay, so how much is the value of firm? So another things, after you get this debt 4 million, so actually you can directly calculate the value of firm, which is the VL. So the VL, which is the what we want to find is we need to multiply here. So here we have the debt value. So debt 0.2 0.25. Okay, let me check first. So let's say we want to find the value of firms. Okay, so this is the using, so we can using this, we need to solve another, okay, sorry. So we can multiply here 4 million because we have debt. Okay, 4 million. Here is debt 0.25. Then 1.25. This is the ratio for, equity, the value, because we want to find out the value. So we can using 1.25, that is the V that we want to find, we put at the as the denominator, divide by 0.25 multiplied by 4. So you got the value of firm is 20 million using the debt to equity ratio, this one. So you got here 20 million, then the rest is for the equity value, which is 60 million. Or else you can find out using the ratio as well, no problem. You can find out using the ratio, okay, which is so this one you find using the ratio. You are using ratio to find the value, and you can also find equity. So to find the equity, okay, so to find the equity, okay, let me, right, so now we want to find the equity using ratio. So the equity ratio is 1. This one is 1. Then you divide by the, let's say, wants to use the value figure. So now we have the value 20 million. So you can use the value that you have, which is V here. So here is equity, E, ratio for E. Then you need to divide by the V or value ratio, 1.25. So here, see here, for the to find the value, we are using debt amount D, and here 0.25, this is belongs to the debt. So what we want to find is the V. So the V will be the top one, and the debt value, the ratio will be the bottom. Okay, so similar to this equity value, the equity value is the one we want to find out. So the equity ratio will be the top, and the bottom will be the B, because we have the value. So based on the mathematics, whatever we wants to multiply, so divide must be the same figure, the same ratio for the same value. Means ratio equity, we multiply by the value equity. So here ratio debt, we multiply by the value debt. So we need to multiply by the similar ratio and value, debt to debt, value to value. Okay, so here you can get 1 divided by 1.25 multiplied by 20, so you get 16 million. Automatically you get the equity. So now B, E, and also you can get D. Okay, D. So now D, you need to put the bottom is the top first. The top is the debt, and you want to use, let's say you want to use value amount. Value amount is 20 million. So then the ratio for the bottom, you need to use the ratio for the value. Okay, 1.25. So 0.25 divided by 1.25 multiplied by 20 million, that will give you 4 million. So you can solve the value of firm, value of equity. So here is the value of firm 20 million. Equity is the 16 million. Okay, and you can also solve this using the VL, using the formula of V, which is here, VL EBIT 1 minus TC divided by RWACC. But since this is no tax environment, so this is no tax environment, kan? World without tax. So you can find out this value of firm. Okay, so here, so this one KAG I remove first. Okay, you can find out the value of firm using EBIT. Okay, so VL EBIT divided by WACC, because this is there is no tax. So EBIT is given in the questions. Okay, EBIT is given in the questions here, 3 million. 3 million. Okay, but you need to find out what is the RWACC. Okay, you need to find out what is the RWACC. Okay, EBIT is given as 3 million. Okay, WACC. Theoretically, using the concept so that I mentioned just now, if there is no debt, no tax, KEU equals to the KEG equals to WACC. No need to find out, no need to calculate. So you just get when there is no tax, no debt. Okay, so automatically KEU equals to KEG equals to WACC. So here KEU is 15%. So you divide by 0.15. So 3 million divided by 0.15. So it is also RM 20 million. So this is another way for you to get the value of firm. Another way is using the debt to equity ratio like this. Okay, but to use the debt to equity ratio, first thing first, you must have one of the value. Either you have the debt value, or you have the equity value, or you have the value of firm. And so you between D, E, or V, you must have one of the debt, equity, and value. You must have the value, one of that. Then you can solve it using the debt to equity ratio. If not, you cannot solve using the debt to equity ratio. Okay, so now return on equity. So return on equity question. So this one, question 1, value of firm. Question 2, value of equity. So this is the answer for question 2. And question 3 is to calculate KEG. Okay, so let me remove this first. So KEG, so KEG is a cost, return of equity or cost of equity. So this is the formula for the KEG. Okay, formula for the KEG is the KEU. So KEU is 0.15 plus VD over V. Oh, I see. The formula is it's not correct. Formula here. Make corrections to the formula. Okay, so you see VE tertinggal. So it should be so this is the difficulty of using online. Okay, VE plus VD. Okay, KEU is 15% plus VD divided by VE. So VD just now is 4 million. 4 million over 16. 4 million over 16. Or else, to make it easy, we have the ratio just now. Debt to equity ratio is 0.25. Okay, debt to equity ratio is 0.25. 4 divided by 16 is 0.25. So you can straight away using 0.25, the debt to equity ratio. So or else you can divide like this. 4 divided by 16. So KEU is 0.15 minus KD, I think is 0.6 just now, 0.06. Okay, 1 minus TC is 1 after tax. Sorry, this one is no tax, so that there's 0 for the tax. No tax. So 0.15, 0.25, 15 minus 6. So the answer is 17.25%. 17.25%. Okay, so that is KEG, 17.25%. Or you can also find KEG using formula WECC, because here you have the KEG, but this is the long way. So easy to use this formula if we have all the information. Okay, finish for part A. Part B, okay, for part B, in a world with taxes. So now world with taxes, briefly explain each of the following relates to your calculation of corporate tax of 24%. So now we have tax, so we need to calculate the value of firm for part B. So now for part B, to calculate the value of firm, right? So we can, since now with taxes, there is a debt. Okay, so we know that VL greater than VU because of the tax shield. Because of the tax shield. VL is greater than VU. because of the tax shield. So that is this formula. Okay, let me remove this formula. ACC will be used later, so we are using this one. Okay, so you see here, VL is equivalent to VU plus TCB. So to find the VU, that is the EBIT multiplied by 1 minus TC divided by KEU and later plus the TCB. So here, so we are using the EBIT just now, 3 million. 3 million EBIT divided by KEU 0.15. And here, okay, 1 minus TC, 1 minus tax is 0.76. Okay, 0.76. Okay. 0.76 divided by 0.15. So plus tax 0.24 multiplied by 4 million debts. So that will give you, so this is 15.2 million for the VU plus the TCB is 960 million. So the value of firm is 16.16 million. 16.16 million. So from this, you can break down into debt, equity, and V. So D is 4 million. Okay, V is 16.16. When company are imposed with a tax, so you can see that the value of equity reduce because equity holder need to share with the government on the tax payment. Debt no change because that is an obligation for the company to pay in full the interest and the principal. But the equity depends on the company performance. So that's why the value of equity will reduce. Okay, so now the value of equity is reducing to 12.16 million. So before this, the value of equity is what? How much? Is 16 million. 16 million. 16 million. Debt is 20 million. Debt is 4 million. Value is 20 million. Equity is 16 million. But now the value of equity has reduced from 20 to 12.16 because the value is reduced to 16.16 when the company imposed by tax. Imposed by tax. So just now we say that when offer will greater because of the TCB kan. So this one is the VL. So if you calculate the VU tadi, how much is it? The computation of VU. Okay, VU is actually this one, 3 multiplied by 0.76. So VU is actually, if we break down, 15.2 million. So this one is 15.2 million plus 0.24, 0.96 million. So itu yang dapat 16.16 million. 16.16 million. So VU 15.2, so plus with the tax shield 96. So if there is a tax, there is a tax, the value offer previously is no tax 20 million. No tax. No tax is 20 million. The value offer, we already compute just now here. No tax, EBIT divided by, okay, this one kan. So you see here, EBIT divided by WACC, 3 million, 15%. KEG, KEU, WACC is 20 million. This one, if there's no tax, means all the earnings goes to the firm 100%, goes to the firm 100%. But if the company is being imposed by tax, then the earnings partly will belongs to the government as a tax payment. So that makes the value of firm reduce. Okay, reduce from 20 to 15.2. However, this reduction in the VU is offsetted by the tax shield here. So you see the tax shield has 0.96 million. So this VU plus the tax shield makes the value of leverage firm VL greater than VU, 16.16. So why this value is less than the value before? The value before is RM 20 million. Okay, so this one because has tax. This one because no tax, and debt, no increase in debt. So no increase in debt. Jadi has debt. This one also has debt. Okay, but doesn't have any. It has debt, but does not have the tax. We remove this first. Okay, this one, 4A, so you need to understand the situation. 4A, there's no tax, but there's a debt. So when there's no tax, all the EBIT belongs to the firm, 100%. So that makes the value of firm is 20 million. But there is no increase in debt, and there is a tax. Previous, no tax, but now it has tax, but the debt doesn't increase. So the value of firm, when there is a tax, the company has to share with the government on the tax payment. So that's why 3 million, the government will take 0.24, company will have only 3 multiplied by 0.76. Here is only 2.28 million. 2.28 million. So this is go to the firm. And the 0.24 go to the firm. 0.24, which is 0.24 times 3 million, 0.72, goes to the government in the form of tax payment. So that's why the company needs to increase debt, because debt can bring the tax shield. If there's no debt, that means very often will make it lesser and lesser, because company have to give portion of the tax to the government. That makes the value lesser. So it's proven here from 20 million to 15.2, right? So here 20 million here. So you see, no tax, 20 million here. No tax is 3 million. The whole figure goes to the company. But when there is a tax, it's only 15.2 million. But this lesser in the value BU is top up with the tax shield, 0.96. If there is no debt, no tax, there is no tax shield. If there is no debt, there is a tax, also there is no tax shield. That also can reduce the value. So that's why the company need to increase the value of firm by having more debts, so that the company can enjoy for the tax shield, provided that the company must have EBIT, earnings. If there's no earnings, then it's useless or is meaningless. Okay, so now we go to the next question, which is the next question. In a world with taxes, we want to calculate the return on equity. Return on equity, this is the RS, ataupun this is the KEG. Then we want to calculate the overall cost of capital. Okay, so now we want to calculate for the KEG. So we take this. Okay. So we want to calculate this. So similarly, so KEG, then we will calculate next WACC. Okay, so this is number, Right, so this is number 2. So this is B number 2. So this is B number 2. B, we want to calculate the KEG. So KEU, so now KEU still 0.15 plus BD. So that is now here just we already break down the debt into this one, 4, 12.16 and 16.16 is the V. So D is still 4 million, but E now is 12.16 multiplied by KEU is 0.5. Okay, remember KEU must always higher than KD, 0.06. 1 minus TC. Last time on part A, we don't have the tax. 1 minus TC is 0. So here now we have the tax. 1 minus TC is 0.76. Okay, so you calculate this and you are still getting 17.25. Similar. KEG. Why it is similar? Because there is no additional debt. There is no additional debt. To increase the value, no additional debt to increase the value of firm. Okay, and since no additional debts, no additional risk, financial risk. Jadi hence the equity holder cannot demand, okay, equity holder. This one is the theory. So I just put the important points here, there, which is no additional debt means no additional risk. Okay. So no additional risk. That's the reasons why additional risk. That's the reasons why KEG remain as previous. So the previous we calculate above 17.25 because the debt is still 4 million. So there is no additional debt. Okay, so now we want to calculate the WACC. WACC here, KEG is 17.125. Okay, 17.125, so 0.1725 multiplied by BE. BE is the 12.16, 12.16. So here 16.16 plus KD 0.06, 1 minus TC 0.76, and multiply by D. BD is 4 million. Okay, 4 million over 16.16. Okay, so you solve that and you will get 14.11%. 14.11%. So this 14.11% is the is offset with the tax paid. So reduce from the overall WACC before tax. Before, when there is no tax, we have WACC 15%. So after, so this one after we have tax, WACC reduced to 14.11%. Why? Because the tax paid here, so this one is the tax paid is offset with the tax shield. Offset with the tax shield. Because when we calculate 16.16 tadi kat sini, there is a tax shield. And tax shield of 0.96. That makes the value of firm 16.16. Remember here, 16.16 is partly comes from the 96 million, 0.96 million, which is the tax shield. And this tax shield with balance back with the tax paid, 0.76 makes the WACC reduce from 15% to 14.11%. Okay, if we go to the questions, okay, so here questions C, Blue Ivy plans to issue additional debt and buy back some of its own shares as part of its capital restructuring plan. Okay, that is question C, theory. I want to look at question B first. So because the question B briefly explain each of the following, means that not only to calculate, but you also need to explain the changes in the value of firm, return on equity, and company's overall cost of capital. And if you look at the solutions here, so you can see that, okay, calculation is okay. So this one is used the old symbol, no problem with that. Okay, only on the part of calculation. So you can see that the explanation, value of a levered firm BL is greater by the tax shield. So greater by the tax shield because so this one is 15.2 million BU is lesser compared to the VL 16.16. So VL is greater, so this one is VL, this one is BU. So VL is greater because of BU. There is a tax shield 0.96. So for B number 2, why the RS is also KEG, cost of equity for the leverage firm or geared firm. Why it is similar? Because there is no additional debt. So the debt is still 4 million here. The debt is still 4 million. So since the debt is similar, 4 million, okay, that makes the no additional risk for the equity holder. So RS remain unchanged or KEG remain unchanged because there is no justification for the equity holder to request for higher return because there is no additional risk, right? So no risk, additional risk, no additional return. Okay, next for the third question, company's overall cost of capital, that is the WACC. So you can see reduction to 14.11% because the tax shield offset with the tax paid. So in this component 16.16, there is a tax shield because this is a V, VL, VU plus TCB. So this is a V, okay? Then there's a tax paid. So this is a tax paid. So tax paid reduce the KD, but the tax shield increase the value of firm. So that balance back the WACC and makes the WACC reduce from 15% to 14.11%. Okay, next question. On question C, Blue Ivy plans to issue additional debt and buy back some of its own share as part of its capital restructuring plan. Based on the MM proposition, briefly discuss the effect of the capital restructuring plan on company value and return on equity. So return on equity is on the KEG, company's value is on the V. So additional debt. So we know that when D is higher, okay, so D is higher, buy back some of its own share means equity is lower. So equity is lower. So what is the effect when company issue more debts and reduce the equity by having the share purchase or shares buyback? If the company is exempted from tax, means no tax, or the company is paying a tax. So no tax. So here no tax, no tax shield. No tax means no tax shield. No tax shield. So by increasing the debt is useless because there is no tax shield. Okay, we look at the solution. So when there is no tax, increase in debt we would have no impact. No impact means meaningless. Meaningless on the firm's value because that does not increase the value of firm because there is no tax shield. There is no tax shield. No benefit on the tax shield. No tax shield. Okay, so that means the firm's value remain unchanged. However, higher debt level will increase the return on equity. So it doesn't increase the tax shield because of there is no tax, but the risk for the equity holder is higher. The risk of the equity holder is higher because when company increase the debt, financial risk is increased. The risk of the company is high, shareholders will require higher rate of return. So that makes KEG will increase. That is the impact. So that's why you can see here, KEG is a bit higher When there is no tax, KEG 17.25%. This one is company has tax. No tax, sorry, zero. 17.25% from 15%. No tax, KEG is equivalent to KEU if no debts. But no tax has debt, KEG is higher because when there's a debt, even though no, in terms of value, no tax shield because there is no tax, but increase in debt will increase the value, increase the exposed risk, increase the risk to the equity holder. That makes the equity holder will demand for the higher return. That C, KEG is higher from 15% increase to 17.25%. 15% increase to 70.25%. Okay, when there's a tax, increase in debt is expected to increase the firm's value. Okay, when there's a tax, means there is a tax shield. So tax shield will increase the V. Okay, increase the V because VL is the VU plus PCB. So this is the tax shield. So that will increase the VL. Increase in tax shield. Okay, higher debt level also increase return on equity because debt increases the company's risk and shareholder will require higher return. Okay, so the next question is D. Blue Ivy is planning to increase the gearing ratio. Increase the gearing ratio means increase more debt. Okay, increase the gearing ratio means increase more debt. So explain the impact of excessive level of gearing on the trade-off between the tax shield on debt and cost of financial distress. So we know that when a company has excessive excessive debt, it will increase cost of financing, and later the company will expose to the financial distress. So, and if the company has no profit, okay, when increase in debt becomes higher and higher, there's no profit, so no tax shield, no tax shield, because tax shield is we can see the tax shield when company can reduce tax when company reduce profit. Reduce profit, reduce tax. Why reduce profit? Because of the interest paid. Because of the interest. Interest reduce the profit. Profit will reduce the tax payment. That is the tax shield. But if the company has no profit, then increase in debt would be meaningless because there is no tax shield. There is no tax shield. Okay, let us look at the solution. So the tax shield on debt interest will only available if the firm is tax paying position. Tax paying position means the company has a profit. Okay, has a profit, then you can pay tax. No profit, no tax. Okay, at a high gearing level, the firm may not have any taxable income to obtain all available tax benefit. Any taxable income means income eligible to be taxed, taxable income, income or profit that eligible for tax. So tax exhaustion. So when company has no tax, has no profit, means no tax paying positions. So increase in the debt will not give the company the tax shield. That we call it as the tax exhaustion. Tax exhaustions may occur when a firm does not have enough profits to obtain tax relief for the interest. So that at this point, so we would say that it's a meaningless. So the firm may experience side effect of high gearings, but none of the benefits because they cannot have the tax shield. So in this case, if you look at the graph, so it doesn't give the value of firm higher, but later on the value of firm will be reduced. So like in this graph, so you can see that the graph, so this one, so firm's value at a certain point of time when the gearing level is so high, so that will decrease the firm value. So this one is when the financial distress cost is higher. Okay, financial distress cost is very high. So WACC, the optimal capital structure is when we can maximize the firm's value, minimize the WACC. this happened before this point, which is we have the WACC lower. Okay, so this one, so it is vice versa. So when we have the lower WACC, we will have the higher firm's value. But at a certain point of time, when it excessive, the firm has an excessive gearing, that will make the firm's value lower, minimized, because the cost of capital comes from the debt is higher, or cost of capital comes from the equity holder, because at this point, WACC consists of KD and KEG. Okay, so KEG of course will be higher because the equity holder demand for the higher return because of the higher financial risk. So they demand for the higher return, that makes WACC is higher. Okay, and the company at the same time does not have profit, that will not increase the value of firm because there is no tax shield. So that means that makes the firm's value lower. Okay. So that is the reasons for this explanation. Financial distress occurs when a firm is unable to meet its financial obligation, like the interest and principal repayment. So because when the firm takes high borrowing, the risk that the company will default on its interest payment and therefore become insolvent will increase. So exposed to bankruptcy. Possibility of bankruptcy will negatively affect the value of firm. But we are not talking about the risk of the bankruptcy, not the cost for the firm's lower value. So you need to understand that it is not the risk of bankruptcy that makes the firm's value lower, but it is actually the cost for the bankruptcy, and there's no tax shield, that makes the value of firm is lower. Because when the firm exposed to the bankruptcy, firms needs to hire lawyer, legal, needs to pay the agency cost, need to pay financial distress costs. So that cost will further reduce the value of firm, plus with no tax shield, like this. So this one, so there is no agency cost outside equity, agency cost outside equity. There is no tax shield, bankruptcy cost. So this cost, not the bankruptcy risk that reduce the value of firm, but the bankruptcy cost will reduce the value of firm. This one minus, okay, and the agency cost also will reduce the value, and also tax shield. If the tax shield is not available, it is also will reduce the value of firm. Okay, then, so that is the explanation about this financial distress cost. So even though the firm may have taxable income, but this will be trade off with the present value of the tax shield on debts, which is used to offset against the cost of financial distress, as I mentioned just now. And all this will make the firm's value is lower, like this. Add and minus, plus and minus of the present value, tax shield, bankruptcy cost, agency cost will make the overall firm's value will lower. Okay, so that is explanation for the questions July. Okay, questions July 2022. Question July 2022, Blue Ivy Berhad. All right, so we will continue next for the next question. Till then, thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum.